Well, hello there, fellow geeks and geekettes, and welcome to a brand new series of videos, which actually started, or is starting right now, as a video response to a video Omar did from the channel Near Mint Condition, and his video The Top 10 Comics That Define Me, where he was talking about single comic book issues that affected his life strongly in this or that way, and that he will remember forever because they kind of shaped his life, as I said, in one way or another. And I like this idea so much that if you don't mind, Omar, I will make a series of videos out of it. I've got a couple of single issues that I really could say that they defined me, and I would like to devote an entire video to each and every one of them. And for the first video, I chose Peter Parker Spider-Man issue 7, which is this one. This copy is actually a Czech reprint of this particular American comic book. In the Czech Republic, where I live, it came out in July 2000, and it came out under the title Spider-Man, issue 12, right? Because that was the way they were reprinting American comic books in the Czech Republic these days. In these, singles, floppies. Nowadays, only collected editions get their own Czech versions, but I don't buy them really. I buy, the originals. But I chose Peter Parker Spider-Man issue 7 or Spider-Man issue 12 because it was actually the first comic book I've ever read in my life. I was 7 at the time, and my mum bought this comic book for me at a newsagent's because, before that I had loved the animated TV series, Spider-Man. Along with Batman, the animated series, these were my two favorite cartoons when I was a little kid. So when I saw an actual comic book with Spider-Man on the title, I just needed to get it, and my mum was very kind, as she always is, and bought this for me. And at this instant, at this moment, I became a comic book fan. So it was July 2000 when I actually became a comic book reader and a comic book fan, and it changed my life, and it has changed my life forever. And that is why I have chosen this comic book as one of the defining moments, not only of my life as far as comic books go, but my life in general. And having reread this after 20 years, really, or 20 years later, it still holds up. It is a simple story which can really stand on its own. It can exist. This single floppy, this single comic book issue, you can just grab, read it, put it away, put it in your baggie with your board, frame it, put it on your wall. I do because out of a nostalgic reasons, and you don't really need to read the follow-ups. It's basically about New York City being invaded by vampires, especially, or is it New York City? Manhattan. So Spider-Man's neighborhood being invaded by vampires, right? Who are actually in a war with the mafia led by Kingpin or Wilson Fisk. So you can see some mafia members here fighting vampires, shooting at them. Of course, it doesn't really help because there are other ways to kill vampires effectively. Well, Spider-Man joins them and he tries his own techniques. Spiderwebs don't work either. But luckily, he's got help, and that help comes in the form of one of the coolest Marvel heroes, or anti-heroes really, and it's Blade. So not only is this quite an entertaining and action-packed comic book issue with Spider-Man in it, but it's also actually a crossover with Blade. You know, the vampire killer. And they discover. I don't really want to spoil the issue for you, even though it's over 20 years old comic book. But they find out that there's a vampire overlord trying to usurp the reign, over New York, from the New York Mafia, from Wilson Fisk and the other Mafia members. Well, Spider-Man firstly doesn't really believe Blade that there are vampires or that they actually exist, but I think that there are many reasons for him to change his mind, right? And the last thing I would mention is the artwork in this comic book, which is of course done by John Romita Jr., and I love it. It's fantastic, and that's why. Maybe that's why I'm one of the people who really don't mind John Romita Jr.'s artwork and actually like it. But his artwork has changed throughout his career, and I think that it used to be a bit better and more detailed and complex than it is nowadays. Here you can see well, some people say that all his faces look the same, but I would just say that it's just his style. So yeah, I do indeed like the art of the artwork of John Romita Jr. So this is it, the first part of a new video series. Once again, a huge shout out to the channel Near Mint Condition and the Uncanny Omar. Thank you, Omar, for the inspiration for this comic book series, and as the first pick, as far as top 10 comic books that defined me, I picked Peter Parker Spider-Man issue 7 because it was the first comic book I have read I read in my life. And that would be all from me today, my friends. See you soon. Keep reading, keep safe, and bye.